Good morning, everyone. June 17th, 9:30. This is a meeting, scheduled meeting of the Griggs County Commission. Please all rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Averill.
Here.
Tranby.
Here.
Zorn.
Here.
Edlund.
Here.
And Wakefield's present. Move on and have a look at the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Sam, any changes that you see?
Nope.
Nothing. We have a motion by Edlund to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Averill. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda approved. If you'll have a look at the June 3rd meeting minutes. When able, we'll need a motion to approve the minutes and dispense with the reading if that's your desire.
I make a motion to approve the minutes and dispense with the reading.
We have a motion on the floor by Edlund to approve the June 3rd meeting minutes and dispense with the reading. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
it. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. June 3rd meeting minutes approved. Have a look at the bills. Sam, anything?
Nope, nothing. I'm crazy. There is that bill for Axon. That is for the other part of the dash cams or the body cams or something like that. It was the other part of it, so I was given it, so I'm assuming she wants it paid and then she's gonna deal with it afterwards. I'm not really sure, but
I thought we were going to move that into payments.
Yeah.
Into 5
Yeah.
payments.
Right.
so I don't know if she wants,
Correct.
because this is, I mean, it was received by my office, so
Okay.
pay it and then she'll figure out how to reimburse or whatnot. I'm not sure.
No. I think we'll just have her contact them to reset up the payments and.
So we'll put that one on hold.
Yeah.
Yeah, remove
Yeah.
it. Yeah. It's
I
no,
make-
it's no use paying it and then getting it back. And
Right. Right. I'll make a motion to accept the invoices with the exception of the Axon Enterprise.
And where was that at? Axon Enterprise.
Page
20.
5.
So basically, we paid half of it the first time.
Yeah, we had to put money down.
Why were we told that the whole thing was paid?
They sent all the equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
The
equipment was
equipment's
here.
here. We
Yeah.
haven't made any payments from what I understand.
No, we made the first payment.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
First down, which was half
Oh,
to
You had
purchase.
just done that right before
okay.
the whole shebang happened.
Mhm.
Let's leave it as is for now. I mean, that puts a little bit different
From-
scope on this thing.
Yeah, for the sheriff's side budget, because what we budgeted for that was like 11,000 or something like that. But if we paid 20, that kind of screws it up.
And maybe they can, I'm busy with that, but I gotta follow up with Amberley on that, because maybe they'll just send us part, since we're gonna switch it to 5-year payments, they'll reimburse us part of that to be a 5-year payment setup.
Okay.
Well, not that.
But-
That isn't what I was referring to. I was under the impression we'd paid the whole $52,000. Well,
I don't think so.
the fact that we haven't gives us a little leverage on this, on negotiating this thing. If we haven't paid it all, and they're saying we have to, and we're trying to work out some kind of deal with them, we do have some leverage here now. we've got the equipment, it hasn't been used. So let's just see what the lease payments look like, and then we can go from there. But isn't that what we were told, that this thing was paid in full?
Part of it was paid, and then, but you have all the equipment, is what
Yeah, well,
was
that's-
being said.
So we have a motion on the table to pay the bills as presented, with the exception of Axion Enterprises in the amount of $24,658.80. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Second by Zorn. Any further discussion on the bills? Any further discussion? Barring no further discussion, we'll move on to a roll call vote. Aye to the positive, nay to the negative. Averill,
Aye.
Tranby,
Aye.
Zorn,
Aye.
Edlund,
Aye.
Wakefield votes aye. Bills approved. Fair Board property.
Yay! Yay!
Yeah, finally, right?
Yes, we'll get this finished.
So this, your lawyer and Jamie got together and revamped this and updated it and made the changes that were necessary?
I'm guessing so, because I was told that I could come here and sign the contract. I'm assuming you have it, that's,
We do.
look
Yep.
at that, that's
Yep.
what I've come here to sign.
Are you the president?
Good morning, everyone. I'm good with it.
Thank you.
Jamie?
Good morning, everyone. I'm good with it. I believe that the very good board is good with it. I'm fine with you guys signing it and transferring that property.
Very good. So you are the president?
I am the president.
Very good.
Yes.
Well, given that, we'll need a motion to approve the sale. Come here. Of property to the Fair Board Association. Purchase price is $1, and the deed will be turned over. As pretty straightforward contract, what we're doing here is just giving the Fair Board the ability to have the property in their name so that they can make improvements, and so the improvements made will be on property they own. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is
Yes.
correct. So at this time, we'll need a motion to that effect to approve the sale of this property to the Fair Board.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Tranby to approve the sale of the property to the Fair Board. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Averill. Any further discussion on this?
Do we have to list the lot names, or?
That'll be done by the,
Well, I know it's listed in here in the contract here, I just didn't know if we had to really list it in the deal, okay.
there's the deed, it refers to the deed, the quitclaim deed, and if you go back to the quitclaim deed, it lists,
Just say lots.
Okay.
yeah.
Here. Yeah, lots.
What did you want to put in number 1 for within how many days? Did you see that?
I guess that would be,
One day,
well, no, I can't.
same day.
Well, we'll need to prepare the deed.
It is here.
In its complete,
I think so.
Yep.
and they're just gonna do a quick claim deed.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a quick claim deed there, and I think that deed should be fine.
Got it. The deed shall be prepared and recorded at the expense of the Fair Association and shall be signed and delivered by the county of the Fair Association within,
We're delivering it to you today, so.
One day.
So one day.
okay?
Yeah.
Any further discussion on this agreement? Do we have a second?
Josh did.
Josh, second by Gabriel. Oh, that's right. We'll move on to a roll call vote. Aye to the affirmative, nay to the negative. Avriel.
Aye.
Tranby.
Aye.
Zorn.
Aye.
Edlund.
Aye.
Wakefield votes aye. Sale completed.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank
You
you.
guys,
I'm excited to see the big plans to do
we're
here.
excited to start making plans, yes.
And I'm gonna have to
You're a
sign
notary.
that.
You're a notary.
Yes.
Sam? There you go.
And then is the agent. Oh, I can't remember if that's. Or is that Steph? Thank you. I can ask her.
It should spell that out in the contract here.
The guarantee is the Ford Association. So that's who signs that last page, is Stephanie.
Yep. That's Stephanie signs on. As the president of the fair board, write that in there. All that's saying, Stephanie, is that you don't have to declare the value, which was only $1 anyway.
Yes.
You got that one, and do whatever you want, that's only worth $1.
Right, that's even better, isn't it?
Thank you so much.
Anyway. Jamie.
Jamie, are you still there?
I am.
Can we start a little earlier on this sales ratio study, or Don is here?
Yeah, it's up to you guys.
Can you get Aaron on the phone?
I did tell Aaron, I did tell Aaron 10 o'clock. I'll see if I can text him and see if he can hop on right now.
Okay.
I shot him a text. I'll see if he responds within the next couple minutes.
Well, while we're waiting for that, we can run down to the old courthouse, new courthouse. Did you have a time to talk to Lauren?
I sent it off to Rod to call Lorna.
Oh,
I tried calling her and I didn't have reception. I was in Montana. I didn't think I was going to be out of reception as long as I was. So I'm going to reach out to her.
okay. Well, it's been 11 years. Another 2 weeks won't make much difference.
Right. You know, during the rally right there, we were at a hill climb.
Yeah.
There was absolutely no cell phone service that we had.
Anything else in the old courthouse, new courthouse?
Did you get did I send you, Josh, the email where from 2019 when we first started talking about, or when they first started talking about?
You probably did. I probably just didn't catch it.
Because I can forward it to you. It's the letter stating from Lorna the details as to what we need to do. I can send it right now to you, Sue, so that everybody has it. So when it's discussed, everybody,
We're on the same track.
yep, has all the same information.
I get a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, a lot of texts every day, so sometimes I do miss one. Don't take it personal. So
I will forward this to you right now. And I don't know when they came. What do you know? What date they came last time? Because maybe you could listen to that meeting too when they came and visited with us. Was it last year or the year before? Do you remember, Scott? Or Sam?
I don't remember when that was, but I do remember them coming.
It all boils down to we need a firm commitment that if we do X, Y, Z, that we get to have the ability to
basically,
tear it down.
yeah.
And we've never been able to get to that point. It's always been, well, do this and then we'll consider it, and do this, we'll consider it. And that rocks us down the road of spending thousands of dollars without a firm commitment. I mean, if there's a procedure to follow in order to be able to take it off the National Registry, then that procedure must be laid out somewhere. And if you follow that procedure, the end result should be that you get to accomplish the mission that procedure was set forth to do. The State Historical Society has the final say on whether or not we get to raise that building, tear it down. They have kind of stepped into that process, and they will never give us the final go-ahead. Okay, you do this, 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 this as it's laid out, and then you get to the ability to tear it down. They always say, okay, do this study, and we do that study, and then they say, okay, that's good, but now do this one, and this one, and this one. It's a never ending, so we can't continue going forward until we know there's going to be a favorable result if we complete the process. And this process has been ongoing now for 8 years, and we've accomplished many of the tasks that they have originally said we should do, and that would be the final one, but it never becomes the final task. It just keeps going forever. So we're still stuck at the same point we were at the start of this. What do we need to do to tear it down? And when we complete those tasks, there doesn't need to be permission to tear it down. It's done. Then we get to put it before the voters, because of course we won't have the money in order to do this. We're going to have to put it again before the voters to see whether or not they will
Vote to have it in our, increase the budget.
It's probably going to have to be, I mean, depending on the complexity of the materials in there, the asbestos, the lead paint and things like that, it's probably going to require a bond issue in order to do this. We're probably talking, it might be, who knows? Yeah, don't know. But until we can say, okay, here's the end result, here's what we have to do to get there, we can't start doing anything.
When I spoke with her before in the past, in the letter that I sent over to you, there is 5 items on there. We do NDSU, we need to get some documentation from NDSU, which that we completed.
Yep.
And then updating the site form and updating the National Registry nomination, and then salvage of
architectural materials and elements as practicable. So I looked at the other two forms for the site form, the National Registry form. It is way over my head because I'm not a historical architect. So I did contact last year or the year before, whenever that was, and did get quotes on that.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, you'd create a sign to place on the ground saying that this is where the courthouse was. And in the letter, it does state, once these measures have been completed and approved by our office, we will issue a further letter advising that the project is allowed to commence. So we got to actually apply for all this. I'll try to find where it was so you guys can listen to the meeting too when she came on. It kind of makes sense, but it's 5 items that we have to complete. We've completed 1 of the 5, and the last 2, 3, and 4 on the list pretty much has to be done by a historical architect because I started working on it and I called her and she's like, "Oh, you can kind of put this on here, but it's a lot easier if you have somebody do it." So
See,
We're working on an old building too.
the
My job, and it's a nightmare because they want everything. They're redoing a part to the original part,
Yep.
original historical part, and to do that, you have to do it just right or find the right metal, right. It's a nightmare. So I about imagine what it's like just to do everything else to get it set up
Yep.
to get it all removed.
Yep.
So
the trigger words there are approval.
yeah.
They shouldn't have the right of approval. There should be a set process to go through, and once you're through that, it grants you the approval. And we have sent her on at least 2 different occasions an affidavit stating that if we complete these processes, it can be torn down, and they've never signed that and sent it back. And so here we sit. And remember, we do have an email from back when this was being built from the State Historical Society. It wasn't sent to us, it was back and forth that said that that courthouse will never be torn down. And I believe them. Jamie, any luck with Aaron?
No, I haven't gotten in touch with them yet.
Okay. Well, we can move on to future business. What's going to be for the next meeting?
You guys will continue on with budget at your next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, if you talk to what's their name, probably put that on there.
Yeah, old courthouse, new courthouse, that'll be on there. I'll get ahold of her.
will you follow up with Harold and see about the updates, if he got that completed? I mean, we got the email saying he completed, but he was following up with another, like you said.
Yep.
With another auditor to see if that's what they thought, so maybe see where he's at with that.
Sounds good.
What was a statement of adverse
Adverse opinion.
Mm-hmm.
opinion, which we've always signed up before. I mean, the 3 different times we've been through this, all that says is that the state disagrees with our method of accounting, we disagree with their method of accounting, and we agree to disagree and move on. And that's all it does. So I think this will be the 3rd time we've signed that now concerning our audit over the last 10, 11 years, 12 years. Seems to be every time someone changes hands or looks at the audit, they want different things, and then of course it's our audit, and there's been nothing found wrong from a dollar value with it. It's procedurally is what we disagree with. The procedure that we agree with, we've done for the last since this courthouse was built. The procedure they want done would upend everything. They've agreed now. They agree that we're not right, we agree they're not right, and we'll sign the statement accordingly and move forward. It's nothing else.
I suppose every time the state gets audited, they change it then too, or what?
What's that?
Every time the state gets a different auditor, they change it, or what?
It doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to it. I don't know why. Don't know. But this is what they always come up with. Anything else on the future business?
So audit and budget is all I have.
Wayne, what's the update on the bridge?
Bridge,
I think most of the paperwork is done. As far, I don't know if they've got all the right of way and stuff. Jamie was working on the right of way, I believe.
Okay,
Otherwise,
You're cutting in and out, Jamie.
I'm sorry, I'm working on the right way Paul. Next week I'm gonna sit down with Paul and get some of that stuff done and taken care of for the next meeting, or the meeting after that, I would probably guess.
and then maybe we should have an update, Wayne, on what we're moving forward with on the road, paving the road between Binford and McHenry, the 1.5, 2 miles
I
there.
have no
Nothing?
update on that. The next funding will be in 2025, like a flexible transportation fund like we got for the Hanford Road.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a few things on that I've signed for the Hanford project. But it's still to be bid out probably this fall.
And how much of that's gonna be paved at Hannaford there?
It'll be, pavement through the city will be removed from Highway 1 to by the water tower. And then that'll be fabricked and, well, taking out the mud and the black stuff that's been pumping up, put down fabric, gravel, and then repave it. They will be leaving the curbs and the drains that are there, so it won't affect them. It'll be 5 inches of pavement through the city, and then from the city out past the railroad crossing, it'll be, I think, 3 inches or 2 or 3 inches on that. So
Are they gonna mill that out there down or just put a lip on?
they're not milling the stuff west, I don't think, just overlay of. And then it should be 105.5 capable of.
They're just milling in town because of elevations of the curb.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. It's such a big hump when you come in with
Yeah.
the drains and the off streets that there's problems. So it won't be affecting the drainage at all. And hopefully we can take that old railroad grade by the elevators that comes across by the park. Because it's a big hump.
It is.
Dig that out.
And, but now the auditor for Hannaford said they had tried doing something with that before, but the railroad wouldn't
Let them do it.
let them do it.
Oh, they haven't purchased the right of way there?
They don't
I
want to give up their
don't
land.
know. Doesn't this go back to the city, Josh, or?
Well, that I don't know, but I know anybody who's along that railroad property, they don't use it anymore.
No.
They own it, but they don't use it. But the stupid thing is they won't give it up. They will not give up any of their land, no matter whether they use it or not.
No, that's not right.
They did that from Hannaford to,
No, all that old railroad line's for sale. It's been purchased up and down that line for years since they closed it. It's Wolf Enterprises in Dallas that's selling it for the railroad.
Because I know there's, like, one of the guys I know that lives right next to the line right in Hannaford, he wanted, when he bought his house, he had a hard time there because the railroad went onto his property, and to get part of that, to even out his deed, he said it's horrible. It is
Well, it might be horrible, but it's still
But,
doable. I mean, all the land in Binford's been sold, in town.
But even in Wallem, where the elevator is, they're trying to sell some of that, they're trying to get some of that land off the property. They've called the railroad, and the railroad don't want to give it up.
It isn't the railroad that's selling it. It's a outfit out of Dallas. It's been in charge of that, the railroad properties.
But I get what you're saying about and what they should. I mean, it's part of the street. They should.
is part of the street.
They covered up the tracks as it is.
Correct.
Or, well, not covered up, but covered up where the tracks used to be, took the tracks out, covered it up. I don't know why they can't just mill it out even and be done.
So when it's icy,
It's,
in the wintertime, you slide right out onto the highway.
yeah, that one is true.
Well, just that, and then
Semi.
where it's built up so much, like we've talked about before, where the two roads meet, it creates a big dip there, and then over time that shifts and moves and creates problems too. I know I catch it all the time when I go through in the winter with my plow. I catch it every single time, and that's hard on the road too.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll get ironed out.
Yeah.
Engineers working on it.
But yeah, if there's a way to give up that profit, that'd be great. Because like I said, I know people, and maybe like he said, maybe it's a different company that you got to deal with. And maybe they're dealing with the wrong company, but like especially people who own the elevator in Canada or Wall, they said it's just a nightmare dealing with them.
I know Burlington Northern's got a lot of powers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wayne, anything else? Have we stepped up the grading schedule on that road between,
Yeah.
so that it gets graded on a regular basis now?
Just play it regular basis. We're gonna put some gravel on it after a while.
I was gonna ask you too, where they dug that culvert on the Hannaford Road there. Can you do a little pavement on that one? That's pretty rough there.
Yeah,
After the rain a few
Hopefully
times.
it'll,
Yeah, I know. You guys are waiting for it to settle. I understand.
we just did it on Thursday.
Yeah. I went on it the other day and I had
Aaron
to slow way
burst
down.
on
I was
you?
like, holy crap.
Hmm.
So it's
Jamie, you ready to go on the sales ratio study?
Yeah, I think Aaron was going to Bob and Don is there. I've been working to try to get a hold of Shelley Miners. I can't, so she won't be here from the tax commissioner's office. But Aaron and Don are there, I believe.
Aaron, are you on?
I don't have Aaron yet.
I did just talk to him. He said he was going to get on 10 o'clock, so he should be on here shortly.
Yes.
Yes.
Need
Before we
a
start
chair.
that, can I just give you an update on some funding for the?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
This is my opportunity to have the podium.
This is Representative Vigasaw is going to give us an update on some legislative issues.
Yeah, when Wayne started visiting about, flex funding, also thought I would give you an update on the prairie dog funding. Oil revenues are tracking well ahead of forecast. So it's projected that the buckets will fill for prairie dog funding, and I'm sure you know how much Griggs County got last time. I imagine it would be a similar. But it's projected to hit, to fill in April of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be within this biennium, of course.
Yeah.
Oil tax revenue through May is running 44 million ahead of forecast, and we were fairly conservative with our forecast. And we're even more conservative in the next year that starts July 1. We're forecasting $62 a barrel. And from what you hear, it's going to maybe push 90 again when we get into the later summer and fall. So our conservative forecasting has been beneficial. And then the general fund, which is just the tax revenues, we're at 278 million above forecast at this point. So the state coffers are going to be full again.
What's go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to let you know, being as you were talking a little bit about load funding, that prairie dog funding, which I'm sure you utilized last time, will be coming again.
What's the status of the PERS as far as the funding for the retirement and all that? I know it's the projections there got way the other way. They were projecting 10% in the stock market when it was, for all those years, and I know there was a Band-Aid fix at the end of last session, correct?
Mm-hmm. So what we're doing there is we first of all, we converted from a defined benefit to a defined contribution.
For anybody entering the system now.
Anybody new, yes.
Yeah.
And that was a huge thing for the state.
Maybe you should explain that so the people listening, so that we understand what
absolutely.
we're doing.
So for, I guess forever, the states had a pension plan or defined benefit. So you work so many years of service and you'll get this amount of money as a pension as you retire. And if you meet the rule of 85 or 90, I think it's 90 now, you get just about your virtual entire salary in retirement.
With increases,
Right,
yeah.
right. And that, when the market has struggled, like John mentioned, it has at times, you know, we've gotten, our obligation is underfunded. And I think at the last session, it was about $1.2 billion underfunded.
Yep.
So we've tried to do this in the House for a long time, to switch over to a defined contribution, which is like a 401k.
Right.
So then you put in your money, the state matches, you control it. If you move to another job, you can take it with you, portable, and you get to choose your investments. I mean, that's what we always had at the dealership, you know, and
Yep.
and I think industry experts say that's the best way to have it. Plus, it gets the state out from underneath that liability.
Yeah. So when they talk about unfunded liabilities, that's what they're talking about, is this very issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and of course, based on market performance and infusion of cash into the current system,
Mhm.
you'll try to right the ship is what we're in that. So what we're doing with some of this oil tax money and legacy fund earnings, not the principal, but the earnings, we are infusing so much into the fund every biennium.
250 million last time.
It was a bigger chunk last time, and then we're gonna do so much biennium.
Yeah.
So the market has performed well in the last year, so I haven't gotten the latest numbers, because I don't work with that directly, but I think it's probably looking a lot better now than it was even a year ago, because the market's performed so well.
Right.
And then with this infusion of cash, you know, we're gonna try to right the ship, and then taking any future enrollees out of the system, you know, it'll work.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the pension system is an old system based
Yeah,
on the
absolutely.
Fortune 500 companies used to, the big GM, all those used to do. The government's the only one basically that does it anymore. But how that affects us in the county and our budget is those unfunded liabilities have to be covered as people retire within the PERS system. The PERS system needs to stay solvent.
Yeah.
The unfunded liabilities means they have money that they're gonna have to pay down the road. So what that does is, that raises the premiums that we pay on our current employees. So if you look at our current employees now, when you look at our salary, and then you look at the benefits, it's over 50%. For every dollar we pay an employee now, we're paying 54% or 55%. And that's what's causing this, is the PERS program having more obligations than it was originally intended to have, is really what it comes down to.
And, you know, I'll brag about the House of Representatives. We've been trying to do this for session after session after session. In the Senate, we just couldn't get them off the dime.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It seems like I don't know. I'm not gonna speak for them. But finally, and I tell you, it was even tough this last session, we finally got them to go with us, so.
Yeah, there was, I mean, I saw the two opposing bills, the Senate and the House bill, and it was like night and day, it is like night and day. It will eventually get righted, but this isn't a 2 or 3 year
No,
deal. This is a long term, this is 20 years down the
Yeah,
road.
this will be going on.
Because
But-
you have the older employees going out. It can take a while.
Because
to
you
get
pretty
them
much gotta get
together.
rid of the old
Yeah.
purse 100% before you transfer everything over, don't you?
No.
You'll have to,
Oh.
you'll have to have everybody pay out of the system.
Yeah, so somebody that got hired last year will be in the system till they retire.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's, no, you
And
don't
they get
switch it
paid till
over.
they
You have-
die.
No, that's what I'm
You have
saying.
you have two ongoing systems
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You
at the
gotta
same
keep,
time.
you'll have the new system, but you gotta keep the old system going
Mhm.
for the people that are involved in that system, till everyone's not involved in that system, correct?
Mhm.
Right. But the only cost we're gonna have as a state going forward with the new people is just paying our match. And whatever administration that you have with
Yeah.
that, but there's no future obligation whatsoever.
No, and the other step that could have been taken, but that would be, is to buy out the current people in the system. That's what bigger companies usually did. They went and bought it out.
One thing was interesting, you know, we also had a PERS individual who was very difficult to work with. And we couldn't get PERS themselves, you know, the organization themselves, to come with us. They fought tooth and nail for their employees, and I mean, we tried to tell them, your current employees are gonna be paid all the way out. It's just the new people, but they were, well, he finally got fired.
Yeah, I say they got new director, right?
Yeah, he finally got fired. So thankfully, we're moving on now.
Well, I mean, they were protecting their bureaucracy.
Well,
if
that's
you-
exactly, because
They don't have any
there was
power
no-
anymore if you take away the
there was
whole
no
system.
injury to the employee whatsoever.
Injury to the ego, though.
Couldn't you have them sign out, like, let's say the people are still in the old one, couldn't you have them sign a waiver, invest their money in the new one?
Yes, that
You
was part of my, I'm gonna thank you for reminding me, Josh, because we had, I mean, when a new person is hired, they had the opportunity to go to the defined contribution,
Yeah.
but when they went into the PERS office, they were never encouraged to sign up for that. They would always put them in the defined benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So we are so thankful that we finally got that done. So anyway, as far as any monies coming to the county, through either, you know, the general fund monies that come your direction and
Yep.
oil monies through Prairie Dog should all be coming in full.
Okay, very good, very good. Anything else, guys, before we move on to the?
Oh, I could
sanitation
talk
study?
about a lot of stuff.
Well, you keep going, keep going.
Maybe you can have to put me on the
you
agenda
don't-
every meeting. I could.
We'll do that.
Well, it was, you know, and just visiting about the state auditor and all these issues that, I mean, anytime you want me to join in on a meeting, I'm more than happy to.
Well,
Anytime. I've stayed out of your way. You guys do
Yeah.
a great job here in Griggs County. You're wonderful stewards of our tax dollars, and so I only show up when I'm asked to come, because you're doing a great job.
well, this is beyond our control. We need the next step up in the legislative ladder in order to. So we'll move on to the sales ratio study.
Yes.
What the sales ratio study is for everybody here, they know, but for the people that might listen to this, and just to set the discussion, sales ratio study is conducted, used by the state in order to, in their equalization process, to equalize to equalize the counties against each other. For some reason, the state has decided that they need to be in the property tax business, and they want a house that is in Bismarck to be valued the same as a house in Cooperstown, as a house in Binford, as a house wherever else. They can get into a whole long discussion on why that probably isn't a good idea, but that's where we're at right now, is a sales ratio study that the state is supposed to comply. We don't need to do a sales ratio study. We just did our equalization. We didn't use a sales ratio study. The legislative intent says that you don't have to use a sales ratio study. Griggs County is in a really unique position because the county does not have any assessed property. We don't assess one piece of property here as a county commission. The property is assessed by the townships, and the property is assessed by the cities. Secondly, even if the city were to do a sales ratio study, they don't come anywhere near the number of sales in order to do the sales ratio study. I think 30 is what has to be done. And the people at the state have said, well, just use prior year's sales to fill in. Well, of course, that anybody that looks just realistically knows you can't do that. You use that sale to raise the value once, and now you're using it to raise the value again. If you want further confirmation of that, and do a little thought survey about it, what would happen if we didn't have any sales in Griggs County this year? And we applied the state's logic that if you don't have sales, you use prior year sales. Okay, we didn't have any sales in Griggs County this year, and we used prior year sales. We would theoretically raise or lower the value of the property in Griggs County based on those prior year sales when we didn't have any sales at all. That tells you right there that using prior years doesn't work. And the Century Code doesn't want prior years either. They state that if you don't have enough sales, you have to use assessments. You have to go as appraised property in order to get enough valuations. So where we're at right now is we don't have anybody to do the sales ratio study. We have advertised, we have tried to get a tax director because of the impositions put on the qualifications for the tax director based on property values in the state jumping during the oil boom and it not being kept up. The rules and regulations for a tax director got pretty complex, which they should have been if you're talking about Bismarck or Fargo, Cass County. There was no designation for these small little counties. And so to get a tax director, first of all, no one wants to come here. We were offering $60,000 at the end. No one wants to come here. It's a terrible job if you're living in a small community to go to your neighbors and say, okay, we're raising your evaluation. Now you're going to pay more. It's a tough deal. So we allow the township boards to value their property, their homes that were within the township. We allow the cities to value their property within the cities, and then we take the recommendations. We just did that last meeting. If you notice, the recommendations came in, we went by the recommendations of the townships and cities. So we're stuck with this. The state wants a sales ratio study. We don't have anybody to comply it. We don't, by the century code, we don't have to do a sales ratio study. But the state uses a sales ratio study, and they have the ability to do it, and Century Code doesn't specifically say we have to send them the sales ratio study. It says that we have to send them the information required, the sales required. We're more than happy to do that, and we've expressed that many times over the years, but there's been this iron fist, no, you do it our way, or we're going to impose this rule, or this rule, or this rule. And now we got down to we have somebody that would do the sales ratio study for $30,000. The same person was going to do the tax director's position for $60,000. A sales ratio study, back when I first was a commissioner, Ron and I did it for 2 or 3 years because we were trying to satisfy this. It didn't take us any more than 2 days. And so now we're being held over a barrel to pay $30,000 of taxpayer money so that we can raise the values on their property so they pay more taxes. And at least from my perspective, that goes against everything I believe in. And we need to come to some kind of agreement with the state. If the state needs a sales ratio study, we will provide them, and we've said many times with the information they need to do it. But we don't use it in our equalization. They are required in theirs, and there's where we sit. So they certainly have the people of the ability to do it, and I would say that we will send them everything they need to do it. I don't see why we're at an impasse here.
Well, John, Mr. Chairman.
No, John's good.
Okay. So you're without a tax director right now, but there are gonna be times when other counties are without tax directors, too. Particularly rural counties, small population counties. Many times in legislation, when we're requiring counties and cities to do things, we have said for counties below a population of, or cities below a population of, we lessen the requirements because we understand that they don't have the personnel or maybe the expertise to do those types of things. Now, I don't know that there's anything like that with regard to the sales ratio study, and that's something I would be more than happy to pursue with the tax department because, like I said, it's happening here, but it's gonna happen in other counties too, where you can't find somebody or you're behind in your getting the information in. And if you and Ron did it in 2 days, it seems like somebody at the state could find 2 days if you sent them the information. So I mean, just when I was thinking about this before coming, I said, it just seems like myself and Association of Counties and the state tax department should be able to sit down and what could we do to help the rural counties? Slope County, of course, they don't have any people there. There's like 700 people in that county. Now you can tell me, and there's land in Slope County,
Mm-hmm.
and there's properties and homes and some businesses. I mean, Steele County's another, I mean, their population is well below 2,000.
They're like, I think one guy I talked to, they're like 1,900. They're less than we are.
Yeah, they're like 1,700 people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd certainly be willing to do that, and then, you know, based on suggestions from you folks, I would take those and see if we couldn't come up with some kind of policy that lessens the burden on smaller rural counties, especially if they get stuck without a tax director for a period.
Well,
But that, I mean, you guys have gone round and round with them already, and
even that, we don't have enough sales to justify a sales ratio study. Again, when you have to start using prior sales, it isn't like it's an average. That prior sale already raised the value, and now you're going to use it to raise the value again over here. And for that matter, speaking of the legislative intent, they actually put in the Century Code the legislative intent of this of the sales ratio study. And the Legislative Assembly recognizes the sales of property alone provide insufficient information to make accurate judgments concerning the market value of property within various counties of the state. Particularly, and this applies to us, in view of the limited number of sales which occur within a given period of time in many counties, and that in order to get an accurate picture of market value, consideration must be given to other factors other than sales ratio study to include appraisals, productivity, and current usage. So it was recognized in there.
you're kind of saying what I just said.
What you just said.
Yeah.
You guys did it. The problem is the people that are supposed to be carrying out the Century Code and your intent didn't get the message. And
Well, that wouldn't be the first time that's happened.
no. and it goes on in 570107 in paragraph 4 that the purpose of the sales ratio study is for the state supervisor of assessments. It isn't necessarily for the counties or the cities. They can use it in order to do their assessments, but it goes on here. Let me read this for you. In any county or city or any part therefore, where the number of sales of properties, hang on there. In any county or city or any part, therefore, where the number of sales of properties is insufficient for making a sales market and productivity study, the county director of tax equalization or city assessor, as the case may be, in cooperation with the state supervisor of assessments or that person's assistants, shall make appraisals of property in order to determine market value. It says nothing about using past sales. That came from the tax department in their handout. You'll just go ahead and use it past sales. Somebody that has nothing, doesn't know anything about how averages are supposed to work, because this is not an average. This is, you raise it up, now here's the baseline. You raise it up next year, here's the baseline. So none of this has been carried out. We always just get do it our way, or we're going to order a complete reassessment of Griggs County.
Mm-hmm.
We assess Griggs County every year. The Century Code says that when the tax director, when the townships, the cities turn in their equalization, that they have assessed the property within their boundaries, and that's on a yearly basis. And they swear to the valuations. Who am I to tell somebody from Willow Township or Addy Township, the board there, that they did it wrong?
Right, I understand.
That's our purpose. The purpose of this whole property tax and the fundamentals of it were brought about 100 years ago, when everybody had a stake in the game. It was going to be fair, because what you did to somebody else, everybody was in the same boat. It's graduated from that, where we're not. That's not the game anymore. And so now we have the state telling us that Griggs County should have the same valuation proportionally as Cass County, or proportionally as, and that just doesn't happen. The opportunities aren't here. So the opportunities aren't here, so the values can't be here.
We know that's not true.
But we know it's not true, but yet We have had our valuations on our property, residential and commercial property in Griggs County raised every year by the state. Mandatorily raised. The townships, the cities, they say, here's what it's worth. We agree with them. We send it in, the state says, no, you raise it 10%, you raise it 3%, you raise it. No rhyme or reason to it other than up.
And that's based on their findings from what's happening around the rest of the state.
They want to equalize county to county.
Right.
So, yes, correct. So if Cass County saw this huge increase in the valuation of their homes, in order to equalize, we need everybody to see the valuation increases on a percentage wise. And of course, the original intent of that was to try to overcome inflation. If you leave the value of a home at $40,000 40 years ago, inflation has doubled, tripled since then. The tax base would stay low. It wouldn't increase. The problem is it got to the point where there's no time that I can see or foresee where valuations drop because the system doesn't allow that to happen. Farmland also. But nevertheless, the sales ratio study is something that the state wants to use. If they want to use it, I would say that Griggs County is happy to give the information. We just don't have the expertise of the personnel to do it.
Is Aaron on?
Aaron Burse is on.
I am Representative Bigasog. Good to see everybody this morning. Hello, Mr. Chairman.
Morning, Aaron.
Hello, Aaron.
So Aaron, what's your take on our discussion here?
Yeah, it's fascinating and one we hear quite a bit around the state too. Obviously, some of the intent is, as the chairman identified, is if values are being manipulated to keep taxes from going up, that creates a nightmare down the road. But on the other hand, if you just have Griggs having to deal with inflationary issues that the oil field is having, that creates a nightmare also. So I understand where everybody's coming from on this. I'd be more than happy to work with you, Representative Bigasog, and everybody else to see if we can't try to thread the needle to make it good for everybody.
Well, as the chairman here read from Century Code, it sounds like the intent and what's in code says what we'd like, but it doesn't get carried out that way. And I mentioned to the committee here that we have things in law sometimes that are a little different for smaller and rural counties. We reduce the regulations and the requirements on them because of their level of population or expertise. Are you aware of anything like that with regard to this issue that's in code?
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure it has. We have a number of those things where you try to recognize the rural counties differently than the large urban, quote unquote, urban counties. So I think that's possible. I do agree with what the chairman said. There was always supposed to be some variety in county assessment. I also have seen, so I've been doing this for 25 years, some counties that absolutely just refuse to raise values at all. And that created a nightmare too. But that, for the most part, isn't happening to that extent like it used to. In large part, that's because Senator Cook required township officers to have the training to be actual certified assessor. But I get the issue 100%. I'm here to help. We'll work with all of you on that.
Well, Aaron, could you and I meet with the appropriate people at State Tax Department and start a conversation about how we could make some changes?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, everybody knows this in the room, but because it's a hot topic with the property tax issue, we've still always had the corporate line of we don't want to mess with values. You want to keep those the same. But then you also want to have accountability for the political subdivisions that don't eat the values and tax increases, and they can lower their mills. They have that ability. Now, that said, there are some pieces of statutes that essentially penalize a political subdivision for lowering their mill or require them to keep a certain mill levy. And then that's where the rub really comes in.
Yeah, that's a rub because as we sit in Bismarck and hear all the debate about property tax, we don't levy it or collect it. But yet we get it all comes to us as to fix it. And we always say, well, if your valuations go up, you need X amount of dollars, you should lower the mills to get the same revenue, correct?
But that's not the way it works.
That's correct.
The mills never go down.
No, the legislature has tried in language over and over again to say you budget in dollars, not in mills.
Yeah.
Guess what? Not everybody budgets in dollars. They look at the governing board of a lot of these different entities, look at it and says, how many mills can we levy? And convert that to dollars, and that's where we go. And they're bumped up right up against the mill levy limit always.
Yeah.
So you brought up a good talking point, and it's always baffled me. Given the fact that the ability to levy property tax stops at the county line, why does the state have its hands and fingers in this bowl? I don't get it.
As far as providing property tax relief and this and that. And
No,
all that sort of
as far as right here, as far as equalization, why should the state be involved in tax equalization when the state doesn't levy property tax?
thing. That's a good point.
And you know what? Maybe someone will jump on here and they always say we're not levying property tax. We're just making the rules and regulations. You levy the property tax. We don't raise valuations. Raising valuations doesn't raise tax. That's not correct. And every time that I get in discussion with somebody, they bring that up. Well, no, you can lower the amount. You don't have to levy the full amount. Okay, then if a raise in valuations does not raise property tax, how do you explain garrison diversion in the state hospital? Every time that the state raises the valuation in Griggs County, they raise the tax that the citizens paid on those two entities, plus all the rest of the entities that levy based on mill levy.
Yeah, they're certainly intertwined.
So next time someone asks you, why don't you guys get out of the property tax business?
I'd be okay with that.
I mean, it's supposed to, and why should Griggs County be penalized for having lower property taxes than Barnes County? Why should Dover Township be penalized for having a lower property tax than Willow Township? That's free enterprise. That's the way the system works. But if you guys can help us out here again, we're not looking for a handout. We're not looking to get out of anything. We just want someone to take over this burden of this sales ratio study that we don't have the ability to do.
Well, that fee for just doing that one particular task is exorbitant. There's no question about that.
Yeah, and guess who recommended that particular person to do it? State Tax Department.
Oh, the tax department. It wasn't Aaron then, thank you.
No, it wasn't Aaron.
I pointed up at the speaker, Aaron, and wondered if it was you.
No.
All of my recommendations nobody listens to anyway, so it wouldn't have made a difference.
Well, we'd certainly like, if we can come up with something that would help small rural counties with this issue, that would be,
Yeah, again,
I'd love to help.
Thank you. So what's your take on the ballot measure to do away with property tax? Where do you think it stands? What do you? And I know what the fear is the big issue, but where's that stand? How? Of course, the legislature isn't going to be in favor of it, but where do you think the people are on that?
I think if you just ask somebody if they would like to have not have to pay property tax, they're gonna say yes. As far as how far along they are in collecting signatures, I do not know that. I know they got a ways to go yet, and I think they have another 3 weeks or so to collect. And if it gets on the ballot, I know there's a quite a large contingency of organizations that are gonna come out against it.
Mhm.
So, and I haven't dug into this too deeply yet, because until it gets on the ballot, I don't have to concern myself with it yet. It's gonna cost the state, to make up the difference, it's about 1.4 billion per year.
Yep.
So, obviously, we don't have that kind of excess revenue.
Nope.
So there'll have to be adjustments made on things that we do spend on now.
Yep.
Like prairie dog funding for one thing, or the flex funding through Department of Transportation. There'd be some low-hanging fruit that you would just say, okay, we can't do that anymore,
Mhm.
because we gotta pay the property tax. Couple of things that I think would be, let's say, unfair to a county like Griggs,
Mhm.
you've done a very nice job of keeping your property taxes at a conservative level.
Mhm.
Some counties haven't.
Mhm.
You think about Cass County, Burley County. The thing about the measure is that the amount that the state pays stays static over time. So we'll pay 1.4 billion every year from then on.
No, it was adjusted for inflation. The CPI, it was adjusted for CPI. The one I saw, I didn't see the final.
I guess I haven't heard that, John,
But no,
but so the only thing there is that, so if it is static, or is adjusted a little bit for
Yep.
counties that have been very conservative, like
Mhm.
our county, will get that amount, and the counties that have not been conservative will continue to get that amount.
Mhm.
So that's one downfall. The other thing that I would hate, I don't like about it is that out-of-state landowners don't pay anything. Right now, they own the land in Griggs County, they live in Arizona or wherever, they still pay property tax. In this case, they will pay nothing.
Mhm.
No longer any requirement for them.
Mhm.
And I think the other one that's kind of, it may not happen right away, but eventually, the decisions on how counties are funded is gonna come from Bismarck. And that's just because if that number is static, and Griggs County needs something, and Cass County needs something, and I think ultimately it could end up that the state legislature will be determining the funding amount for counties. And there are 11 legislative districts in Cass County.
Mhm.
We have 5 counties with one district.
I know.
So the representation is gonna be in the cities, obviously.
Obviously.
Big share. And I'm a little concerned about rural America in that case, because most of the votes are gonna be coming from the cities.
So,
Those are just some of the
right.
bigger issue concerns.
Yeah, no, I mean, there are concerns on that side of it. On the positive side of it, it doesn't preclude Griggs County from levying its own tax.
It does not, no.
So,
It
so
doesn't.
any shortfalls could be made up by a
Yes.
county levied property tax.
Right.
The big benefit I see to it is, can you imagine that if all the money that is paid in property tax right now in Griggs County could be left in the hands of the citizens, what they would do with that money?
Yeah.
The economy of Griggs County would get a huge boost. Now there's lots of dollars floating around that were previously used for something else. They could be used for a new business. It could be used for all kinds of things in Griggs County that would benefit the citizens. More importantly, they would have control of their own destiny in that case. So I'm always in favor of smaller and smaller government, and this just seems to be a logical move forward. And the reason it tells me it's logical is because on one side of it are the governments and the bureaucracies against it, and the big push on the other side of it is the individual people.
Yeah. Well, we can afford it. I mean, we can afford it, but it's just some things that we spend money on now, we won't be able to do. That's really what it gets down to, right, John?
It does, except we would have, each county would have the ability to do that then on a local level.
Right.
If there's something that's really needed, and the way our system is supposed to work, we're supposed to be self-governed. If there's something that's really needed, the citizens of Griggs County would say, yes, let's put this to a vote, let's levy a property tax for X amount of dollars for this project. So the property tax would then be in excess of what the state was doing.
Correct. Yeah. And you could do sales taxes too.
Right,
I think Griggs already,
so the argument that the county would lose control is probably just the opposite of that. The county would probably have more control, because now they would have a set amount of money here, and they would have the ability to levy more money here. Either way, it would be a less dollars out of their pocket in order to run their county with more control. But there's arguments on the other side.
yeah, they're both valid, because on the local control thing, yeah, I don't know. Of course, we live in such a small population county. You know, you guys are conservative, and we get by with what we have here. So that I don't think the asks on the residents of Griggs are going to be substantial over time. If Wayne needs a new maintainer, or you guys want a pay increase for your county employee. You know, there's things like that you can always address pretty minimally. You know,
Yep.
increases. But there would be, I could see it, that someday there could be some decisions that would have to come out of Bismarck for counties. I don't know what that would be, but I'm just thinking ahead, possibly, and I don't know if you want to turn the control over to some of your revenues to Bismarck.
Like demanding we do a sales ratio study coming out of Bismarck.
So anyway, it's going to be, if it makes the ballot, it's going to be a very vigorous debate. And, you know, the state legislature will comply with whatever the votes, how they come in, and we'll make the adjustments necessary.
Yeah.
It's just the way we'll have to do it.
Well, that's the system we live under.
We've already had legislative council, you know, our staff put together some suggestions for us as to where we could find that money that we would need to pay those property tax dollars. So we're already working towards that in preparation.
Okay.
Be interesting. I don't know where they're at with signatures. I know that they had a ways to go. We also have some time.
Back in 2000, same subject. Back in 2017, the commissioners did this before, where you didn't do the sales ratio study, and the state came in, and then the county was ordered to do the sales ratio study. What difference do you think it is this time around than it was in 2017 when you first tried doing this?
First try doing what?
Not completing the sales ratio study, and then back in 2017 you didn't do it, and then the state came and ordered you to do it.
Well,
What is the difference
Finally enough
from
is
then till now?
finally enough is enough. I mean, I don't have the ability to enough is enough. They're ordered. Very good. They're ordering us to do it. That's the point right there.
Was it that we hadn't done one? There was an extended period of time that we hadn't put one in, and somebody finally figured out that.
Well, that was back before I was a commissioner. When we were looking, Ron and I were looking back, there had been about a 6-year period there hadn't been one done.
I wonder if that wasn't why then it was.
I don't know.
Came to the fore. At
But-
that point.
but
And we're
ordered.
supposed to stay within that certain percentage, what,
Yeah.
90%?
But
And
ordered is the word.
Yeah, that was beautiful, Stephanie. You did.
Except she was in agreement with it. That's not the beautiful part.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll get a hold of Aaron, if that's okay with you.
Yep, Aaron.
I didn't even know you were sitting there, Aaron.
I'm here.
Okay. I'll be in Bismarck the next couple of days. Let's touch base.
I'll see you there.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, guys. You can talk to our senator and.
Yes, I will. You know,
Yeah.
those guys both farm,
Yep, I know.
so I'm sure they're either finishing up beans or spraying
Yep.
today. So And you know, our district is so big now.
It's huge.
You know, geographically, it only grew by like 2,500 people, but it grew geographically.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine from the northeast corner of Nelson to the southwest corner of Stutzman?
Yeah,
So the kind of the way we do it is, you know, I'll kind of go to meetings up in this part of
Yep.
my old 23 district.
yep.
You know, and then they'll take the Stutzman County stuff and, I mean, when you stop at Crystal Springs Restaurant and go to the bathroom, that's in my district.
Wow, long ways up there. So, why don't you stop back once every 3 months or so and give us an update?
Oh, I'd be love to. Yeah. No, I'll just pop in.
Very good.
But I'll get, if you want me on the agenda, I'll Samantha.
Let's get it on the agenda so we know what's going on.
Yeah, no, appreciate the visit. Very good.
Thank you.
Yep,
Yep,
thanks.
thank
You're a great help.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Have
you,
a good
everyone.
rest of the day.
Should we take a 5-minute break before we start on the budget? Is that a motion? Motion by Tranby to take a 5-minute break. Second?
that.
Second by Zorn. Right. We're back in session. Well, we'll see where we go with the sales ratio study. That was interesting discussion with Representative Vigasaw. I'm glad he came. I hope he comes back again. Budget.
I'll be so excited. What you have in front of you is the budget as it lies right now with everybody's requests in there. The one that I am waiting on still is the, Kelly is still waiting on some quotes for the courtroom grant. So that information isn't in here. And I have not received the numbers of state aid and all of those things from the state. That usually will come probably this week sometime, so I can get those inputted as well. So that is what you guys see. During the meeting, I did move those numbers over to the allowed portion of the budget so that you are able to see the comparison. Right now, as it stands, if you guys were to approve this budget as it is, it would levy 1.8 million.
1.8 even?
$1,818,137.99.
Which is 300 and some over last year.
No, this would be. Oh, okay. Sorry, I said that wrong. So it's 1.8 million over last year. Right? No.
No.
Yes.
What was last year's 1.6?
Yep, that's an increase. So it'd be 1.8 million. So we would be levying 3,447,108.89.
You know what the problem is, of course.
What's that?
You haven't put in none of the state aid or anything that is in there yet.
Right, that's what I said. Yep. So
Yeah.
none of the state aid is in there yet. So I mean that's a huge chunk.
Right. So that'll decrease that 1.8.
Mm-hmm.
So the starting point on any budget, other than last year, is we look at what we spent last year, the 1.6, and we decide what are we going to spend this year. A budget isn't go through each individual item and say yes, 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 and total it up. A budget is, as you do at your house, your business, or anywhere else, here's the money I have to spend, how am I going to split it up? And we can't start a budget without deciding how much we're going to spend. So what's a fair number if we spent 1.628 million last year? What's a fair number this year? The fair number would be probably what the cost of inflation was.
What is the cost of inflation right now?
It's projected to be probably in the 0.28%, 2.8%.
So if you were to add,
Because last year was what, 8.6 or something like that, and it's gone down quite a bit, wasn't it?
Are you talking about the cost of living increase?
Yeah.
Cost of living increase I seen was 3.2.
Yeah, but inflation is different than the cost of living increase.
What was it last year? Do you remember the cost of living increase?
8,
8%. 'Cause I know it-
8.7 I think.
Yeah, because I know, well, wasn't the cost of inflation pretty high too? Percentage, it was about the same.
Well,
I don't-
inflation is always year over date.
Yeah, you're behind.
It's not a cumulative.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think, because, I mean, maybe I'm just thinking that number was just the cost of living that we went off of, so maybe I'm just thinking the wrong deal here. Because when we were doing raises, so that must have been the cost of living deal then,
Mhm.
okay.
I do want to just let you all know that in your budget right now, I am using the taxable value of this year. So that, could change for those other ones. So I don't know if you'd like me to use a different number or what number you'd like me to use, but that's the number that I put in there for right now.
For the revenues, on the revenue side of it.
For those maximums, so then it does cut
Oh,
those other ones off at that maximum mill.
Would you say, John, 2.8?
yeah, I mean, you can see projections anywhere from in the low 2s to the high 3s, but 2.8 seems to be what a pretty good average of what inflation is going to be throughout 2024. Now, keep in mind we're budgeting for 2025, but
But I suppose you don't really have a layout of who Zach raised theirs and everything else. Because I know we kind of went through that last time too, but I get what you're saying.
No, you just have to. So the number that is in the estimated expenditures for 2024, that is your budget amount.
What did you say that number was? If, for right now, I didn't see it here, I was just looking for it, but the number for what everybody, 1.8?
that's not even a number.
It's not enough.
No, because the revenue hasn't, haven't put the revenue in on the other side of it, so that isn't even a.
That isn't it, okay.
No. The question is, here's what we spent last year, here's what we took from the citizens last year. What do they expect this year? What benefit, if we raise their taxes, what benefit are they gonna get from it?
Right.
That's all this is about.
Right.
If we spend their money, we should be able to tell them why we spent their money and what benefit they got from it.
Is that software in here too?
It is not.
Well, that kind of needs to be in here because it needs
Yep,
to be
I
done.
have the quotes for whichever one you guys would like to go with. So I do have those.
But that's gonna have to be over, and above this. Because that's a cost that wasn't included in the 1.6. So we shouldn't include, that's gonna be over and above when we
But
get done with the budget.
But if we're working on what's the benefit of putting it in after we do the first budget? Than doing it in the budget so that it can be, what's the difference?
Well, the difference would be if we wanted to maintain the 1.6 million dollars worth of levy, and we put whatever it might be, $100,000, $125,000 in there, that's actually a one-time
Yeah.
cost. So there could be justification that could be over and above the 1.6.
So where would you get the money to pay for that if you don't put it in the budget for 2025?
We will put it in the budget for 2025. When we get the budget completely done, then we'll say, okay, here is a $125,000 or $200,000 expenditure. Where are we gonna get that from?
I'm not seeing your process, but I personally would have put all the expenses in here so that we can see all the expenses for 2025 needed.
I just didn't know which one you guys wanted to go with.
A budget,
Okay.
a budget works in the government, how much money you're gonna spend. And then you appropriate that money accordingly. So if you're spending extra money on this, then you have to make cuts over here. You have to have a budget. It's no different than your household budget. You just spend and spend and spend, and then say, well, I need the money, here's what I have to write the checks for? Of course not. Does a business do that? Of course not. Here's the money we have to spend, how are we gonna appropriate it?
So what he's saying is if you're gonna match the 1.6 that we levied last year, then match that, then this would be over and above that.
Yep. And
Then
then we have to cut the expenses that are currently here to make that.
That's not what he's saying. He's saying then input that, because this is just a one-time cost, this then can come off.
Then
and
let's look at
Okay.
that. Maybe it's justifiable then on a one-time basis to raise the levy in order to cover that particular item. But if we lump it in here, it's not gonna stand out. We can't make that designation. We have to decide how much money we're going to take from the citizens this year. And we need to then go through the budget and keep a running tally. Okay, we're over on this one, we're under on this one, we're over on this one, we're over on this one, to make it come out whatever number we're gonna be. This isn't a hard process.
What page is that on again, where does the comparison from?
It isn't there.
It's not there because the budget that you guys have is just in the requested amount.
Yeah.
It hasn't been moved over to the allowed amount yet. So that comparison page isn't gonna show until I move those over. So while you guys were doing your meeting, I moved those over, so then I have the number. But I don't have the state aid or any of that kind of stuff, so it would come out to $3,447,108.89, and then that is $1,1,818,137.99 over and above last year.
But that's not even a real number.
Right, so,
Because as you add in revenues, it decreases that number. We don't know what revenues we're adding in here. The final revenue that you add in is the amount of levy. Again, the start of this process is
What,
how much you want to spend.
Right.
and last year's was 682?
No,
Last year's was a 1.6.
No, just,
no. Where are you at here? Where's the start of the page? You got the backside of those?
that's the expenses. Here's page 1. Here's 2.
There's 3.
What page do you want me to look at? What tab? Okay,
That's what we spent, that's what we levied last year. That's not what we spent. That's what we levied.
Did we levy last year?
it's on this page here. 1.6.
Is it kind of a formula
So,
to use? I mean, there's a, you take 1.6, I did my math right, that's like 9, if you did the 2.8, it's like 900,000.
No.
no, it's
Take
45,000.
1.6 times 1.02,
I thought it was
1.28.
2.8, I thought it was.
Yeah.
Or
okay.
1.28.
So $50,000 more basically, okay.
No.
45,611.
So if you did the 1,628,000, is that 28? Yeah, 28,970 times 1.028, it would give you $1,674,581.16.
That 1% doesn't really cover. I don't think that's high enough, but
Based on what?
what are their expenses differences from last year to this year? What are they requesting? Where's my page on that again?
They put their raises and everything in like they did last year.
Mhm.
So they never put the raises in.
All department heads requested.
Okay.
And where is that at this year from last year?
5%.
Different offices did different things. My office did 5% for myself, and then $1 raise for my deputy. I know that the recorder's office, because her deputy has been here longer than the other deputy, so she did increase her deputy a little bit more than that $1 that the treasurer's office and I did. So they're a little different, but
So page 4 is got the expenses from 2024 is 1.125, and then the requested for 2025 went to 1.178. So
that's just in the general fund.
yep, that's you guys' expenses that you guys put in, right? Is that correct? Each department put in theirs. That's the
No, that's
comparison for
just
that.
the general fund. That's just the A fund.
Okay.
Again, you have to start, the total dollar we levied last year that we took for the citizens was 1.6. What is the number we're gonna use this year? Not getting 5 weeks down the road and everybody standing around looking at each other like we did last.
Well, we could
Meeting.
probably work with a higher number, and if it gets lower than that, then they should get lower than that.
Okay, well, we have to have a number and you probably should be able to explain what the reason for that number is.
So that we have a number to work with. I don't know if I feel
I can explain.
$45,000 is enough. I mean,
What?
I am unsure if I feel a $45,000 increase in the budget is enough to cover the expenses, because that's 1%. Just living expenses in itself is, or average expense over the year is 3
No, it's 2.8%.
or 2.8%.
That is the cost of inflation.
That's-
So that would keep everything right where it's at. That would, everything's gonna go ahead, Wayne.
Yep. One of the reasons is I'm asking for salary increases.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have reports here from the Association of Counties salary comparisons. I've got surrounding counties. It says in there the population, taxable value of each county.
Thank you.
I forgot to give you this. $2 an hour.
But that's not what we're deciding right now. We're deciding what the total value is. If the road department gets $2 an hour, maybe we make cuts other places. The budget is not all about increases. The budget is about increases and decreases in order to arrive at a dollar figure.
Yes.
And the motor graders are leases up next year.
Yeah.
And they have about tripled in price. We've got a project there, chip seal, that's 100 and some thousand more. So that's just something to think about, look at.
And that'll all come when we get into that portion of it, but we need to arrive at a dollar figure so that we have some guidance here.
And some of that funding possibly could be taken from, like our gravel and stuff could be taken from Prairie Dog or
Yep.
those project monies and not affect the,
Not affect the
Levy.
levy.
Yep.
I know it's early in the process, but it's just something to give an idea of what we're thinking. We're a lot lower than any surrounding county.
And if those boys ever left, you will not be able to hire anybody at the wage that they currently
Right.
make. Yeah.
If you hire somebody else, it'll be the higher price than what we're paying them right now. And I don't think we can just do it all with contractors. There's a lot of day-to-day stuff that's not looked at very much, but tough job. I don't envy it. And I know people want good services. That's one thing they want.
Everybody wants premium services at a discounted price.
And inflation, I don't know if anybody shops, but I guess we all do. You go to the grocery store, and the things haven't gone up 2%. No, they've doubled in the last year and a half.
You realize, Wayne, that argument works both ways, of course. That's an argument to raise the salaries of the people working for us. That's an argument to keep taxes low for the people we're taking the money from. It works both ways. If the people that we're taxing are under duress, why tax them more? And so again, it's a two-edged sword.
you increase it $151,000, that would, for the year, that would be 1.78 million. It's 151,000 increase.
What's the rationale behind that?
You know, that would help cover the increases of the wages and increases of expenditures, maybe even the software that needs to come through here.
That Steph, that's just a speculation. None of that's
But
based
we
on
don't know
fact.
until we pick a number and go through it, John. So
That's right. So
that's
then
why
why-
we should probably pick a number and go from there.
We've got a number right here, 1.6.
I don't think we can run the year in the same exact dollar amount that we did the year before.
We did it for 10 years.
I understand, but we're down to the point now where we need to do other changes, like increases of salaries.
Did the people that we're taking the money from get a 5% increase in their salary this year? Did the old lady that's living on Social Security get a 5% increase in Social Security this year? Did she get a decrease in her heating costs or food and everything else? Of course not. Every dollar we spend here extracts a human toll.
Well, I'll make a motion to get the ball rolling here, that we'll go add the 2.8 to 45,000
Which is what, 1674582?
to, we can go through the budget at that point and see if we can make it work, and
And then if we can't, what? Cut
I think we either cut,
or increase?
I guess that'll have to be looked at, because right now, so
We're just looking for a set number and then we can adjust it from there,
Yep.
correct?
I think that we need.
Whether it's a increase permanent, well, no, not a permanent, but a temporary increase, like you were saying, to add something.
Well, we can probably change it 100 times as we're working through it. Just once you make the motion now, doesn't mean you can't make another motion later to increase it.
Yeah, we're not even making a motion. We vote on the budget in its entirety
At the end.
at one time.
Okay.
So all we're doing is whatever number we agree to here, we're agreeing that that's a consensus. As we work through these individual budgets, then we use, okay, what was it last year? Let's add the point, whatever the number is, the percentage is, let's add it to it and move forward. If we do it that way, when we get to the end, we will have the number that we agreed upon.
Whether it's a little higher or a little lower.
If there's room to make some savings, there's room to make some savings.
Okay.
If there's room to, but just because it's requested, doesn't mean it has to be approved. Just because it is an existing service now, doesn't mean it has to be an existing service next year. This is, again, we're here to make the best use of the taxpayers' dollar to benefit them, not to benefit the employees or not to benefit the elected officials, to benefit the people we represent.
But, John, you always say about the employees are also taxpayers too, John.
They are taxpayers.
that's my
Well,
point.
of course they are.
Yeah, see.
But they are one compared to 100. We were supposed to make the decisions for the majority of the taxpayers we represent. Of course they are. And of course they have to, by having employees, it benefits the taxpayer. But to what extent? This is never going to be an easy process.
No, it's not.
I would also like to make sure that we have money set aside for future computer issues. I'd like to start seeing that being done for future monies like that. I want to make sure we get the money set away for a future vehicle, for the future car, for the sheriff's department. Electronics and sheriff's, those are things that we've been missed in the past that we need to make sure that we get that.
I know some of that was added last year too. We increased the budget for some of that stuff last year.
You know,
So
I think it's.
let me correct you on another thing. We are doing 1-year budget. We only have the ability to do 1-year budget. We have no ability to put money forward for anything. We do a budget 1 year at a time, and that's all we're able to do, that's all we should be able to do, and that's all we can do.
We can put away money for future purchases of
No,
computers and
we
put them.
cannot.
We do it for the vehicles. Yes, we can.
We do it 1 year.
Yeah.
We budget in 25,
Correct, and then we do another.
that's it, and then we do it 1
Next
year.
time.
We're budgeting money for 25, we cannot go any farther than
I
that.
think we could budget so that we can put some computers and buy computers in 25. So then we can budget to buy computers in 26. Put
No,
them on
you
the same-
can't. It's an annual budget for a purpose, because we don't have the ability to spend money that we haven't levied yet.
John, you're not hearing me. Put money in 25 so we can purchase computers in 25.
We're doing the 25 budget.
Yes.
Well, of
So
course,
put-
that's what the 25 budget is
So
about.
we can, that's what I'm saying. So we can start a rotation on it. It's
What
not
does this
in here
say?
enough.
This says 25 budget. That's what we're doing.
Yes,
We're not doing money for this year. We're doing it for the 25 budget.
that's what I'm saying.
So we're not putting it forward.
You're putting money in 2025 budget so we can buy computers in 25 budget because we don't.
If we need computers
We
in
have it.
25 budget, we should. But if we don't need them, we shouldn't buy them.
They do need computers. That was the discussion last year. They didn't have any new laptops for the vehicles. They need.
Who's they and who says they
The
need them?
sheriff's
And who? The
department.
sheriff's department is different than the rest of this. We've got computers so we can't see anymore. We have a budget for the IT department that is absurd. A small county like this spending $130,000 a year for IT, that is unbelievable. Again, we can discuss all this. Let's set a number so we can move this forward, or we're gonna be sitting here another 4 weeks from now with citizens sitting around laughing at us because we haven't got nothing done.
Let's go with that number of that in the 45. Then it's just-
So the 1,674,582. Because I just took that number and then added the 2
Yep, that's what I did.
That's not enough, Josh. I'm sorry. Just not enough.
You haven't even been through the budget
I
yet,
know,
and you're
I'm
saying it's
that.
not enough.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't think it's,
Pretty easy when it doesn't affect some people, isn't it?
well, it does affect me too. Oh, John, oh my God. Something.
Well, maybe show me the effect.
Yes.
Like you said, we're just picking a number to start with.
Okay, I'm just.
Make it
I
a
think
higher
it's
number.
low-
Make it a
low,
lower
I
number.
guess,
Whatever
yeah.
it is, but.
I'm not
I'm
gonna
going
I'm not gonna look for the moon or anything like that. I'm just thinking that's kind of
Then what do you feel, like 1.7?
increased, maybe another 40,000 or something. You know.
What's that based on?
Right, you want the explanation when we haven't even gone to the budget yet, so it's like, let's increase it higher. We know 45 is probably not enough. So let's pick a number. Why won't you let's pick a number?
I want to pick 1.2.
I understand, John, but
Okay, so
that's not going to happen.
and it could, yes, it could happen very easily, and the services in Griggs County wouldn't be affected. It could happen very easily, and the taxpayers would applaud us. It would be very easy to trim this thing down by 20%.
Again, I'll go to the 145
What's the
or
number?
147.
1,674.
Yes. And let's just get started.
We can make adjustments higher or lower for that, can't we?
Yeah, we're just gonna get
We're
started.
just picking, literally just picking a number.
We're just
That's
picking-
0.28%.
Yep.
Yeah.
2.8%. Okay. Go through and apply 2.8% to all last year's budget numbers. And that's what we'll start with next meeting.
Say that again.
We haven't gone through the motion.
No, there is no motion. Well, if we're in agreement, we can't make motions until we have the final budget. If we want to start out to see what it looks like at a 2.8% increase, let's go apply it to here.
Mhm.
And then we've got a number. That's what, there's a number. If not, why the smart ass attitude
No, I'm just
here?
saying, yes, okay.
Well, I guess,
I mean,
We threw
why?
out other numbers and apparently they weren't acceptable enough until we got to the 2.8% that you wanted in the first place.
I don't want 2.8%. I'd like to see it cut by 10%. What's so funny about that?
everything keeps
Let's-
going up, John, I just don't.
Let's just roll with that number then, and when we go over, make the adjustments.
Because we need to have the revenues in here too.
Correct.
It's possible when the revenues are in here, if the revenues are higher than they were last year, that the number will be lower, that the levy number will be lower.
True.
Are you going to?
So
let's-
we're talking about something we don't even know the facts on yet
Well,
here.
we don't have to, you know. Well, that question, another question is, we got, last meeting we were talking about, we're 400,000 in the black, correct? Did I hear that right?
That's
Well,
what
it
rolled
carried
over to this.
over.
Carry over,
Right,
I'm
yes,
saying.
yes.
Okay, see.
Right,
So-
but that's always about that. I think
Okay.
last year it was,
Cause we increased it by what, 100 and some thousand last year when we set it.
100,000.
Yeah. It was like
So-
104,000.
Yeah.
so last year
So
was
we're-
498.
So we're just carrying that increase over.
What are you looking at?
I want that one.
It's always about that.
Okay.
In the general fund.
That's,
No. Your general fund carryover was 716,314.
Yeah, so it was higher. That's
We're
why,
coming-
that's
we're
why
gonna
we,
come in low.
yeah. When we're gonna come in, what's the carryover this year? 400. So there's $300,000 right there. That's gonna be,
we can, for this next year's budget cycle, correct, we can use that, you follow me?
So that goes to offset your budget, but so
Correct,
did the
yeah.
so is
700.
the seven. So the difference between last year and this year is $300,000. So if you compare accordingly the $1.6 million and you take away the 300,000, now we're at 1.9.
Cause we're not carrying that.
Because we're not carrying as
Carrying over.
much. It's gonna decrease that, it's gonna decrease the carry, so that's gonna increase the levy.
Okay.
That's why we can't proceed here until we get the revenues and everything in here, so we see where we're at. And you can leave it right where it is right now. If you don't wanna put the 2.8% in there, you can leave it right where it is right now. And
I think we should at least have that in there just because it's annual cost of raises. And then we could just, like you said, make our adjustments from there when we get our final numbers.
What am I doing?
I don't know. It's gonna come out to be an outrageous number anyway. With from a quick glance at this, without the increase for the software and with the decrease in revenue, this is just in my head when I was doing it last night, I think we're going to end up with a levy number, if this stood the way it is right now, at about 2.3.
Million, correct.
And that's from how much from last year?
$700,000. Now, that was just estimating revenues.
Right.
So that could be, maybe the revenue is higher, maybe it's lower, but that's where I see it at. But we don't know until we put all
Get the
that in
numbers.
there.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said, let's just put the 2.8 in. Let's get the numbers here and start looking, because until then, right now, we're just spinning our wheels.
Do you want to go through the individual budget? Start with the individual budgets to get through the general fund. Usually, you guys start with salaries, just to kind of get the process going.
Well, I like the fact that each department chose their own based on who needs what, but
To me, that makes it a little bit easier because then you can just, okay, it's up to the department heads, and then the department heads just say, here's how much money we need. Everything's included.
mm,
To me, that's a heck of a lot simpler.
mhm.
And then that way, if other department heads get mad about it, it's like, go after that, go after whoever else, or, next time, put those numbers in your budget.
Mm-hmm.
That's 700,000. So if we add the 45, so it'd be basically 750 for last year.
It's just a real rough estimate. I mean, it could be less than that by, it could be more than that by 300,000.
I think we need to put the numbers in so we can get an accurate number to see where we're at.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, what do you want? I mean, you know what I want put in, or what's the consensus of you people? What do you want put in? Sam, to put in there.
I'm good with the 1674 number with the 2.8 or 2.08% increase.
I'm good with that.
So then,
Or the 2% increase of the original budget from last year.
2.8%.
Yeah, the 2.8% increase off of last year's budget. I'm happy with that
Okay,
number.
so then to arrive at a number to work with, is it fair to say that we go through each department, use the 2.8% increase applied to last year's, and then start there?
Their expenses, you mean?
The overall budget.
I don't think you should change the individual budgets at all. The individual expenses that they handed in. Leave them alone.
Well, then what did we change the other number for? If the individual budgets don't add up to the total budget, then we're really out there in left field.
You're
We don't even
basically
know what
saying
we're
take
doing.
everybody's budget from last year, add the 2.8% and see where they're at, correct?
That's right.
Well,
That's what you're.
because
That's what.
shouldn't they be able to go through and see what they?
Wouldn't you guys want to go through them individually and say like
Yeah,
no,
that's
and
what we
then
did
this
last
is
time.
your
Yeah.
this is your target?
That will
Because
be our target.
Yeah.
Some of them,
This-
I don't like that idea to change. Because then why did we have them even give us their budget if we're just going to throw
Go
out
across
what
the
they
board,
had and
yeah.
just put in what the 2%, 2.8%? We didn't do that last year, did we? I don't
No.
recall.
We came up with a number and then we went through them individually.
Yep, I like
We
that.
started with the raises and then we
Yeah.
went through everything from there and then
We did
adjusted.
the
everything
raises
from
and then that was across the board, correct?
What are your thoughts
Yeah.
about leaving the raises be what they put in there?
Because last year was 4.4, right?
there. Yeah.
The only problem I have with
And
the
that's because we met them halfway because
Yeah.
the annual cost of living was 8%.
Yeah, that's right.
the only thing I do struggle with on that is a 4% raise across the board. Those who make more 4% could be $1.50, and those who make less, the 4% is only 50 cents.
Correct.
Do you see? Well, that doesn't help either. To bring the other ones back up. And then the ones I do like the fact that the staff do like to be able to do a comparison of the gal's been here for 15 years, hiring somebody brand spanking new, being at the same wage as the person who's been here for 15 years. Is that really fair? I like the differential on that. So I'm okay with letting them pick their own salary where they believe. If we compare it page by page, if there's a huge astronomical increase, see what their thoughts are. Wayne picked out what he wanted his guys to be.
Who do we represent? The citizens or the employees?
Both.
Both.
We represent the majority of the citizens. The employees happen to be part of that. The reason that we can't have individual wages is because what happens then if we have an elected official's position open that's been working here for 20 years? What do we do? Then if somebody's going to run against her or him.
Actually, on that, I did when I attended the conference for commissioners, which is I would recommend everybody to attend that. That is wonderful. It was good information, and also networking with the other commissioners. Some of the facilities or some of the other counties, they have a matrix scale set up to where their salary is each department, and it's like here's your starting scale, and then by years of experience it goes on there, and they have their own increase on each individual, and those are things that let's say I actually do that for my current career too, or my current facility, but hearing that other counties are doing that, then their starting person has a set wage. So if, let's say, Sam leaves and they bring somebody else gets elected, they would come in at the tier 1 because they're 1 year. And then for every year, your salary goes higher. And what you would do is if you decide to change, hey, our starting scale is too low, we will increase the starting scale, and then the formula will just fill out the rest of the years, so the scale will increase per, that way. And that's what the counties have done. And I don't know if you guys, I do have a spreadsheet that one of the gals did send me information on it. If the departments would like to sit down and go review it like that, we can do something like that. And then their raise is based on the years of experience.
It's obvious why that can't work.
Why?
We have a 30-year
Yep.
auditor,
Yep.
and someone's running against her. Now, the 30-year auditor is going to get this salary. The person running against her is going to get this salary.
Mhm.
The person running against her is going to say, elect me because I'm going to save the county $10,000 a year by electing me. That can't happen. That is then the county, promoting one candidate over the other. That's the reason why these salaries are set by department, and regardless of age or the amount of time you've been in business, that's the way it is. Just because some other fools do it doesn't mean we have to be foolish and do the same thing. You can't have a discrepancy for a job that is an elected position, because the years of experience don't mean anything, because you can be let go 4 years from now or tomorrow. And that's why the salaries are always set that way. That's why all through the whole legislative process, that's why a senator in the U.S. Senate that's been there for 40 years gets the same salary as one coming in there.
I can follow up and ask those gals those other counties, if they have had any issues with people running for election and using
I
that
just
as a
told you
tool.
the issues. I just told you why it's not done that way. That's why Donnie Vegasaw gets the same salary as a brand new legislator coming in, and he's been there for 20 years. Is because of that very reason.
So we'll go back to the 2% or 2.8.
Was it 2.8?
2.8. Again, it's not a final number, but so we can get rolling on this, I think we need to have her plug that in
For the increase,
for the increase and get numbers in front of us, and we can start from there.
or the balance by the both. You want her to change everybody's budget to 2.8%? Or just the
Because
bottom
I
number
can't
that we-
change that bottom number. That's just like a target you guys have to meet.
Right.
Right.
So
But
it's like,
still-
so if I
you'd
make,
you'd have to change each one, and then each budget by 2.8, add,
And
That's not
and then
going
that
to-
number would come out to be the
Yep.
1.674 number. That's
Yep.
correct.
yep. And from that point, I think we can start going through and figuring out what we're gonna do, so we can,
whether we accept the 2.8 or whether we use their budget number. If you want that comparison.
Not much use for a county commission if we just let the elected officials set their own budget, is there? If you've read the Century Code, read the Century Code, what's our primary purpose? The financial interest of Griggs County. To set the salaries, to set the budgets, to okay the budget, to okay the whole financial process of the county is the county's commission's sole purpose.
I would like to have each individual department come and review their budget with us like we did before.
We gotta get to a point.
I know. Let's go to 2.8 and just get them together.
At least we can get some numbers figured out.
And we have to get the revenues in there.
Correct.
We have
Where
to-
would you put that in the final allowance? Or would you override their numbers that they put in, that you guys put in? That your guys' budget is?
So would you
I've
have?
never done it like this, so.
So
Yeah, this
could-
is different. This is totally different than what we've done before.
So you'd basically just have to take last year's budget at the 2.8 and then compare it to what they're asking. Can you do that?
You'd have to add a whole entire line in on the spreadsheet to do it.
Or is that too difficult?
Well, it would be a different allowing amount, so then I would be I don't know, this is done a different way than I'm used to doing.
We've
so.
always done it this way, it's just been, there's been a more cooperative commission. We've always looked at the bottom number, as long as I've been in here, and said we want to stick at that bottom, at the last number. It's always been done that way, since I've been here.
But we've never just did a big adjustment to everybody's budget that they put in and said, there, let's just put that number in there and that's what we're gonna have. That's new.
No, over the years,
We did that last year.
We didn't do it last year, but
No, or
No,
the
because it got
before.
completely out. Well, look what happened last year.
Well,
Look at
the
the
4
mess
years
we-
that we've been doing this, this is the first time you're doing that, so.
Look at the increases other than last year, look at the increases, they were very minimal. We did do it. It was done by negotiation, and we didn't have real big, huge increases. Last year was different. And this year is going, like I said, I believe we're looking at a $700,000 or $800,000 increase as it sits right now.
well, that's, there again, we have to get to the numbers to see
Yeah.
that, so we need to get this in, go 2.8, let's get,
I don't agree with changing the budget that each department's put in. I think we should sit with departments and review it with them. I mean, you can manually see if somebody's from their current last year's to this year's, you can see if it went up over 2.8%.
So then, starting at the next meeting, I can start putting it up on the screen, and then while we're making those changes, you guys can see
Yeah.
the changes.
That would be good, because some people didn't go up 2.8%. They went $200 for travel, they went $200 this year for travel. So why would I go up 2.8% when they didn't ask for more than 2.8%? Does that make sense?
but that's what we can change once we start going in. Because there's gonna be people that are gonna, a place where we'll need more.
Some people need more, some people
Need less, right? That's why I go through each individual one. I just don't feel we should change everybody's budget. Wayne handed in his budget, he worked in his budget, and now we're just gonna go in and change it to 2.8% to everything. Right? Is
That's
that
what
what
a
he's
budget is about. A budget isn't about, okay, that's good, and we come with a number. A budget starts at the top. Here's the money we're gonna take. We take money from people for this. They don't voluntarily give it to us. If they don't pay it, we send men with guns to go get it. This is serious business, and I this cavalier attitude that, well, let's just give them a raise, and let's do that, and let's just buy this. The people don't like that,
Right.
and they shouldn't like that. Again, we are supposed to be their conscience in this thing. We're not acting that way. How many people do you have call you and say, Stephanie, please raise my taxes?
With the budget, again, I want to review it with each of the department head to put their numbers, what they have in there.
Then review it and make your notes there. But we have to arrive at a number that we're going to spend. That's ultimately what we're looking for here. We're looking for the number that we think that the citizens will be in favor with.
Yep.
And so what has caused the citizens to have to pay more money for the services they're getting? What can we logically say has caused that dollar figure to go up?
Well, we won't know anything until we get the revenue part put in there to see what the difference is and everything. So right now, it's kind of pointless to go through anything.
No, it isn't.
And-
We know that we took $1.6 million from them last year.
But-
What is going to change? Why should we take more money from them this year? What changed? And the only logical change is inflation.
And I'm gonna speak up again, but you can see that in the motor grader prices.
Yeah.
Yep.
They've increased. I mean, we did a lease for 7
And
years.
and
so
and,
you
may,
can't say we-
and maybe we don't have motor grader. Maybe we
didn't
maybe we
budget
lease some of those. Maybe we
years
lease
ahead. You
services.
had to budget for 7 years. You had to
Wayne,
allow payments to be the same.
maybe
for
we have.
7
Maybe
years.
we make different arrangements. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe we hire someone to do it. I don't know.
It's not gonna be any cheaper, and you're not gonna get the service.
You
that
don't know. You don't know until you
dedicated
try.
Employees give you.
You don't know until you try. I understand that the employees
Trying
are
is
the
too
are
late.
the
Once
important
you
part of
try-
this.
Once you try, you're not going back.
Well, then I don't know, Wayne. All I know is the people that we represent can't
People-
take any more punishment.
people, the farmers that keep buying $4,000 an acre land is,
Oh, don't start there. Don't, come on, Wayne. Don't say that they can afford it.
they can afford it.
Oh, good Lord.
The thing is, most people, they do want services, especially on the maintaining part of it for roads and stuff.
I
They
agree.
want something for their money. you know?
Essential services,
Yes, you know, we need,
roads,
yeah,
law enforcement,
yep,
and taking care of people that can't take care of themselves. That's the reason we're putting this together to a budget. So we have to take care of the essential services. Then if we need to make cuts, we look at the non-essential services down the road. And that's how this is supposed to work in a budget process. Yes, there are essential services that have to take place. And we need to make sure that those do take place, but not at any cost, at some cost.
Okay.
But we can, again,
I'd like to table this to the next meeting when we can have we could schedule some managers in here to review their budget with us individually. And we'll have the revenue numbers in there.
right,
So what revenue numbers you were gonna put in?
The ones that Sam's gonna
The
receive.
state aid.
The state aid stuff.
So we won't do anything with the 2.8 or to come with any kind of a, because you don't wanna change any of the current budget.
I wanna change the current budget to take away their budget and put in 2.8.
Can we have a comparison? Can we do them both?
You could probably make a spreadsheet of some sort with 2.8 of their old expenses.
Did you want me to like give you a sheet that says
But the
This is what 2.8 would be. This is what they have in
the
here.
problem with the spreadsheet though is that we're not coming with a firm number. That's kind of the, unfortunately, I mean, that's where we have to start. Is with a firm number of where we're gonna start at. The problem with a spreadsheet is it's just variable. And we need to start with a number, and that's where we're gonna move from there. And the thing of it is that within the firm number, it doesn't mean that we're gonna give people 2% and like Wayne, if he needs maintainers or whatever, obviously cutting edges and all that stuff, so he needs a bigger budget. Well, maybe, we have to make increase his, but we could take from somewhere. You know, I don't know,
How are we going to know what they requested if we're going to replace theirs with 2.8%? Am I not making myself clear on this? Because I think
the way that we could do that is move them over into the allowed amount with the 2.8%. Then you would see their request and you would see their allowed. The way that I was kind of thinking about it is that your target amount is that 2.8, so everybody has that in the back of their mind.
Right.
We're trying to get to this, not increasing, because
And some departments won't need that, so
increase
the ones,
mine by the 2.8 and decrease and
every
increase
one of
this
the
one.
departments is
Yeah.
over 2.8% already.
So then where would I decrease, because I didn't increase my supplies by the 2.8? Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't, if I go and I switch.
You just said it. If you take the last year's and you increase each line by 2.8% and move it to the final on 2024, it'll give you exactly what Stephanie wanted was the difference between them. It'll give us a starting point. It'll arrive at that 1.674 million. If we're going to the end and we're saying we're going to levy 1.674 million, that is the aggregate total of all the expenses in here less the revenues. So if we increase the expenses 2.8% over what they were last year, we will arrive at that 6.74 million.
And that 2.8%, I guess, like you guys said before, isn't cut in sand and stone.
But
It's just a goal.
But isn't that like repetitive then for like to get you guys to that number? Because I don't need 2.8 of my supplies, but then I'm going to put that in there at a 2.8. Well, then we're just going to decrease that and put it somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, isn't that like just making more work? Or
Well,
is unless that's what you guys want to do. I mean, whatever you want me to do, I'll do. But I was just thinking, like, if you just have that number in the back of your mind, that's your target. Now let's go through the individual budgets. We can decrease this one, we can increase this one, and then we kind of carry it along.
Yeah.
But
And then
but knowing that we want to keep
4
with
meetings
that-
from now, 4 meetings from now, we'll be staring at each other, what are we gonna do? And we'll have citizens sitting all around here laughing because of the way we conduct ourselves. I don't wanna be a part of that again. The way we started is, again, here's a pot of money, where's it gonna go? That's how we do it.
Will you do that, Sam, please? Like what you explained that you were gonna do? That would be great, fabulous idea. Then we have a comparison to see the two.
You want the 2.8
No,
in
but
the
then
allowed?
you're,
Put it in the allowed so we can see the two, and then you can adjust, like as we're going through, you can adjust, be like, you know what, they need 200, but 2.8 actually is 280, so we'll just split that to 200. Kind of like what you were absolutely explaining through. That would work for me. But we already know that everybody's salary increase is more than the 2.8.
have you looked at the budget? That's already here. Go look at the auditor's budget here. There's what was in 23.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what they're asking for. Those numbers are already here that you want. We've already got that.
Mm-hmm. But you said you wanted everything increased to 2.8% from last year's budget to this year's budget.
We want to make sure that the increases in all these only equal 2.8% over this line here. It's
We
plain
can
and
try
simple.
to, but it might not always.
Depends on the department, depends on.
Exactly, that's my point.
Yeah,
Yep.
I get where you're coming from,
You've
Steph,
got the
but-
number right
Yep.
here.
Yep.
Notice this number. I don't even know what it is. Insurance went up $126,000.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this budget is so out of hand. It's going to be a 70 or 80% increase that we're going to have to levy against these people. That's not going to go over good. And we're arguing about. I mean, there needs to be layoff is what has to happen here. We need to close departments. We need to make sure this thing is operating a lot smoother than it is right now. That'll never happen because no one has the gumption or the courage to do that. All the figures we have here are correct. We just need to arrive at how much we're going to raise. We know what we spent. How much are we going to raise that? If you want to do it on a line by line item, that's fine. Open up the auditors and say, okay, take her number times 1.028 and make that match the number over on the right side. However you do it, doesn't matter.
Sure.
I mean, we can do one of them so you can understand how it's going to work.
Yes, please.
Okay,
I'm here.
let's just pick one that.
I'm here. The
You're here.
auditors.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just saying.
B9.
Basically take your number, what you had last.
81,865.
What page you on, Sam?
Page 9.
B9.
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 So the actuals was 81,865.26, but the budget amount for my office this year is 86,497.22.
You went over.
No, that's with the increase in salaries.
No, okay, no. So the actual in 2023
Yep,
is 81,865.
yep.
Okay, take that one times 1 point.
But wouldn't you want to increase my budget
Your budget.
with this? Because this is my budget amount for this year.
Yeah.
So if you're comparing,
No, if we're trying to
Well, 'cause you
increase we're trying to increase 23 2.8%, correct?
no, you were saying
Yeah.
24.
No, 20.
No, 23.
You're going
We're
to-
not even done with 24 yet.
But we levied 600 and
Yeah.
some thousand, so then off this budget, so then you would take the 86,000 times 2.8%, and that would bring her.
If you want to
I see what you're.
Yeah.
This is wrong. This is 2024.
I know it's wrong.
Okay, and this is 2025.
and this
So, but aren't we trying to get this number to increase by 2.8?
that's right.
What number?
Okay, so
The
then that would be
actual
this-
Or the estimated?
That,
The actual 223
No,
or the
okay.
224?
I
Hol-
said the
no,
20.
hold on, stop, stop. Okay, so we are taking 2024's levy amount of the 1.6 million.
And that,
On
and
what
that,
page are you on that one?
This is the comparison page, that one that I showed you.
yep. Yep.
Okay, so it's the 1.6, and we're increasing it by 2.8.
Okay, so what's that number?
I don't know. You guys.
One
have-
point six seven four, something
that-
like that.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Okay, but this number is the estimated expenditures for 2024.
That's right.
So I'd
So
take
then wouldn't I take
86,000.
this number, the 86,000, and
That was
increase it by the 2.8?
The 20,
Yep.
the year we're in,
Yep,
the levied amount in this year, no matter how you have it labeled here.
Yep, yep,
is-
okay.
Okay,
Yep,
that's
yep.
the number we use.
yep,
That's what we levied last year for this current year.
yes.
The
Take that times
86.
one,
86 out.
take that times 1.028.
Yeah.
Why?
You would take
That's
the
the
levied
increase.
amount, you take the 86,000, which is the levied amount.
Yeah, but why that number?
Because that's what they wanted.
I thought it was 2.8.
You take
It
2
is
points.
1.028 is 2.8%.
Yeah.
You don't have to add it. You don't have to add it back in.
You
So
don't have to do extra adding.
You
You're
don't-
taking that number plus adding the 2.8%.
watch. 10
So that gives
times
you
1.028
919.
is
What did
10.28.
that add?
$10.28. $10 times 0.28 is times $10 times 0.028 is 28 cents.
Yeah.
Then you have to add the 28 cents to the
It already
10.
added it for you because you
okay,
put the one
okay,
from
I
there.
understand. Okay, I was confused. Okay,
1.028
okay, 1.028
And
is
then
what
where
I'm
it
times 86, 497, 22 comes to
And I think we probably have a new
88,919.
deputy make what they made last year.
Okay, so then how, but now I'm confused as to, okay, this is what I'm supposed to get at, but how do you want me to get to that, is what I'm saying? Or do you want me just to put it in one lump sum over on the allowed amount?
So now in this scenario, the 90,743, replace that with 88.
9943.
In just one lump
65.
sum
Nine.
over on the allowed?
No, just watch.
I think you don't need to put it on the spreadsheet at all. I think we could just say,
Okay.
this is what 2.8% is, and,
Now make the numbers above that match the 88,919.
okay, so your 2024-51, the budget you presented is over that 2.8% by 2024-51. And to me, personally, how I would change that is I would take that out of your deputy auditor, because you have to make a new deputy auditor. That's where I would fix it.
So Stephanie, you took this number times 1.028.
Right there, so you got 2,000 for 2192.
No, don't do that. Just take this times 1.028.
Okay,
And that's your allowable number, the 88,000 or whatever.
yeah, 88,919.
Okay, then move that to here.
Right, so that's,
Okay, so now make these numbers
Yep.
equal that.
yep,
And we'll do that. If we do that every time,
So-
on each budget, we'll come through and we will have
my
that done.
suggestion on that, because it's 2024.
But so I'm
different.
picking how I do that?
No, you're not gonna do any of this now. We're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Stephanie wants to go through line by line and do it. That's how we.
Well,
that's how
the
we're gonna
downfall
apply
is
it.
there is that this is not how I want to do it at all, but this is how John has wanted it done, so this is how we're going to do it.
That's the only way we're going to, if we're gonna
But
arrive at a number and meet the number, how are you gonna do it?
So we're gonna do everybody's budget to make only 2.8%. That is it. So that's why
That was,
the
the
20%
again, I would like to decrease it by 10%, but whatever number you guys wanna put at, do it.
Basically, you're saying how you take your number that you got this year, add 2.8%. That's your budget. You guys got to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's basically what you're saying. Whether it's raises, cuts, everything else, That's on the department.
So I
side.
could decrease
No,
my,
no, it's-
I could take out my salaries and my dues and say, nope, I want that in my salaries and plus this, so then I could even decrease my deputy by 5% and increase my salary by the 5 plus all this, and then I get to do that?
That's.
Or is that-
The Century Code puts forward, you put forward the budget. The department heads put forward the
Correct, but
budget.
then we can.
And then the departments that don't need it, we could apply to other departments.
But there isn't
Wow.
one department that is under the 2.8%. Every department is over the 2.8%.
That's right.
So what the goal that you guys are trying to do now is to cut everybody down to 2.8% only, and they need to run their department on 2.8% over what was last year. So and long story short, we're giving Sam $2,421 more from last year into her budget. She needs to figure out where she's going to put it to make ends meet. Which the difference of it is she's got more than that just in the salary difference. So pretty much everybody's going to only get a 2.8% raise. Is all the further. Actually, it can't even be that much because 2.8 on everybody isn't always the same. It had to be a dollar amount raise for each department because
2.8% on is always 2.8%. If you're making
So-
$100, it's $28.
well, as long as her bottom number makes, you can make more for you and less for that person as long as you're 2.8 in the bottom line. So it's and if you guys think you can bring the budget to bring it down to be only with the 45,000 increase from one year to the next, that's especially when other people have other expenditures in there. I haven't looked at them all in detail, so I can't even tell you which ones have done higher than just salary. But salary is one of it, and I believe the rest of them did a 5%. Because did an average of 5% increase for salary, or a dollar, or whatever.
Me, Maddie, and Kelly did a 5% increase for our salary.
You know, and Wayne went off of the salary survey to figure his.
What was the salary survey?
He handed that out too.
I did, but I didn't look, I don't remember.
So the salary survey is I input all of our employees' information into the Association of Counties website, and all the other counties do that. And then you're able to kind of compare between county and county these certain
And you guys can do it,
positions
too.
go into this, and this is this county, and this is their population, so that you can kind of.
And you can filter reports to be compared, neighbor counties, size of counties. It's kind of a neat little report. And you guys have the ability to go on and do the research if you wanted to compare what other counties are compared to us. But with Wayne's alone, I think his is pretty much more than a 5%, but. But in order to hit that 2.8%, everybody's budget's gonna have to be cut.
We don't have enough information to know that yet. We don't know what the revenues are.
Well, that's why I said, let's look at it next time.
We need to know what the revenues are.
Yeah, that's.
Did you just want me to put in the number right now of what we got, or what we're estimating for this year, just to kind of?
I think when you get the information in next week, or this week,
I used the numbers that we had last year.
Yeah.
but they'll be
That's
different.
That's where I
but
came. That's what I came.
Would it be higher or lower, you think?
higher, I'm sure.
I think about the same, but that's what I came up with, just on the back of a scratch pad doing all this. I think that we're gonna come in with a levy number of around $2,400,000.
That's 750 over.
And I can't explain that to the people I represent, so you guys are gonna have to figure it out. associated with that.
So we can, if we just go in and just move the numbers right now, like we said, for at the 2.8.
Well, now we don't even have that. We're just gonna do it manually though,
Okay.
when we, the way that,
And then, can we get that number by next meeting?
If you wanted me to do just like a 2.8% increase and then just get the number, put it over in the allowed just in a lump sum so that you guys are able to
That would be nice. Yeah.
see it. Just, I'm not gonna break it
But as far as
where are you gonna put it?
just over here in a lump sum, just not even
It
in.
don't even have to, I mean, if we go through it by hand, somebody can just type it in and then here's what it is, and, I mean, otherwise we'll go through it again, and go through it again, and go through it again.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And remember,
But
it's
as far as
firm on the 2.8%. That's the firm number, right?
And then where are we at as far as on these, to where we can know if we are gonna hit that 750? I don't wanna say hit, but that's not, but I mean. we can have-
Well, as soon as she plugs in the revenues, we'll know then.
Okay, and you'll have that for, by next meeting, we can have revenues?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Usually I have them. We start budget a lot sooner than
Yeah.
some other counties, and so I'm.
I mean, we're already $350,000 towards that because of the difference in carryover.
Right. And then what's gonna happen, one thing I looked at, I didn't see, and maybe it's in here, but like with our sheriff's budget, is that are we gonna have to bring that 60,000 in as well?
That's the carryover.
That's part of it too.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where we came in lower on the carryover is
Okay.
that situation. So
Okay.
that's where you're gonna see that.
Mm-hmm. And then that doesn't account for whatever we do for the software.
That's another 100 and what?
Depends on the 100 up to 178,000. I think it was 178,000 for the Tyler one.
For the Tyler, yep. And then I do have software innovations and CPT.
You could be looking at $1 million pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. And if you think the citizens think that they're getting the bang for their buck where it's at now, what do you think they're gonna say when they try to increase their tax debt by 40%?
Okay.
So just get the revenues in there.
Yep.
Just get it complete.
Okay. Got it. And then do you want me to move numbers over so that
No.
you guys will see the comparison page?
No, just get it complete. Get the budget so it's complete.
But you're not gonna see the comparison page. Do you want, okay,
No, I wanna see the comparison.
do you want to see this?
Yes, we wanna see this.
Okay, so then I'll move those numbers over to the allowed.
It won't levy this, it won't total this one?
Not unless I move them over to the allowed. Cause then that's where it's telling you how much you're levying. Right now,
It won't total it, huh?
no, not with the requested.
Yeah, you can move it over to the allowed.
Okay.
I mean, they're one and the same, it doesn't matter. That'll just give us a
Just because
difference.
it's over in the allowed doesn't mean that it's anything different than the requested. It's just so that you guys are able to see this, and then that does compare the insurance to those are auto populated to what the salary amounts are in there. So then you would get those numbers. If I don't have them over, then those numbers don't show up.
Mhm. Yeah, the requested will become the allowed.
Yep.
It's not gonna make much difference. This is way past the point of where it's gonna, from my point of view, where it's gonna be workable, so.
Okay.
Just wait till you have all those numbers then.
Yeah.
Just get it tabled. I mean, we have kind of an idea, but just, we'll have more of an idea next meeting when she's got those numbers configured in for us.
Yeah, we'll have, if the numbers are accurate and the budget is complete, we'll be able to know what the total tax liability is.
So, no, not quite, can it, yeah.
Mm.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Motion by Tranby to adjourn, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Averill. Meeting adjourned. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. 12:14. Next meeting, July 8th, 9:30 in this room. Thank you.